got fired for feeding a starving child, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I used to think that following the rules was the only way to survive. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, terrified that one wrong move will leave you unable to pay rent, you keep your head down. You don't make waves. You definitely don't give away the inventory. I worked at Sal's Diner, one of those places by the highway that smells permanently of burnt coffee and grease. It wasn't a career, it was survival. But last Tuesday, during the worst thunderstorm of the year, I broke the biggest rule in the book. I chose humanity over my manager's profits. I knew the second I did it that I was going to lose my job. What I didn't know was that the silent man in the corner booth, the one who never ordered anything but black coffee, was watching every move I made. And he was about to change my life forever. The grind and the tyrant. My shift had started poorly and was rapidly getting worse. It was a Tuesday night, usually slow, but the torrential rain meant people were camping out at tables, nursing endless coffee refills to avoid the downpour. My feet were already throbbing in my worn-out sneakers. The main problem at Sal wasn't the customers, it was Rick, the manager. Rick was a petty tyrant in a polyester shirt. He managed the diner like he was running a maximum security prison. He counted packets of ketchup. He timed our bathroom breaks. He seemed to derive genuine pleasure from docking our pay for minor infractions. "Sarah, if I see you leaning one more time, you're cleaning the grease traps," Rick barked, snapping his fingers at me from across the pass. I jolted upright, plastering on my customer service smile. "Sorry, Rick, just catching my breath." I hated that I was afraid of him. I hated that I needed this $9 an hour job so badly that I let a man like Rick dictate my self-worth. But the rent was due in 3 days, and my bank account balance was currently 2 digits. I swallowed my pride, grabbed a coffee pot, and went back to the floor. The man in booth 4. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:00 p.m. sharp he came in. We called him the quiet customer, or sometimes just Mr. Suit. He always sat in booth 4, the one furthest from the door, tucked away in the shadows. He was an older gentleman, maybe late 60s, with impeccable posture and expensive-looking gray suits that seemed wildly out of place in our greasy spoon. He never looked at a menu. He only ever ordered black coffee, which he nursed for exactly 1 hour while reading a physical newspaper, never a phone. He was polite, always leaving a crisp $5 bill for a $2 coffee, but he never engaged in small talk. He just observed. Tonight, like every other night, he was there, a silent island of calm in the chaotic diner. I poured his refill without asking, and he gave me a slight nod, his version of a thank you. I sometimes wondered what a man like him was doing in a dump like this, but I was too busy dodging Rick to dwell on it. The storm outside. By 9:00 p.m., the rain had turned violent. Thunder rattled the large plate glass windows of the diner. The few remaining customers were anxiously looking at their phones, checking weather alerts. The atmosphere inside was tense, the smell of damp coats mixed with the ever-present fryer grease. Rick was packing back and forth near the cash register, grumbling about how the weather was killing his dinner rush. "Look at this dead air," he muttered. "If nobody else comes in by 10, I'm sending you home early, Sarah. I'm not paying you to stand around." My stomach dropped. Losing even an hour of pay was a disaster right now. I started furiously wiping down already clean tables, trying to look indispensable. The storm outside mirrored the anxiety churning in my gut. It was a cold, unforgiving night, the kind of night where you realize just how thin the line is between having shelter and being out in the elements. The ghost at the window. I was refilling the sugar dispensers near the front window when I saw him. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light and the rain streaking down the glass. But then the lightning flashed, and I saw the face clearly. It was a little boy. He couldn't have been older than 7 or 8. He was standing right up against the glass, soaking wet. He wasn't wearing a raincoat, just a thin, oversized hoodie that was plastered to his small frame. His hair was matted against his forehead. But it was his eyes that stopped me cold. They were huge, dark, and hollowed out by a kind of hunger I'd only ever seen in documentaries. He wasn't begging. He was just staring inside at the warmth, at the people eating burgers with an expression of pure, desperate longing. He looked like a ghost haunting the diner. My heart didn't just break, it shattered. The moral dilemma. I froze. I looked back toward the kitchen. Rick was occupied, berating the line cook about potato skin wastage. I looked back at the window. The boy was shivering violently now. I knew the rules. Rick had a strict no loitering, no soliciting policy. He'd kicked out paying customers for less. If I let this kid in, especially if I gave him food without him paying, Rick would go nuclear. I needed this job. I needed that $9 an hour to keep a roof over my own head. But then the boy lifted a small, trembling hand and placed it against the glass, as if trying to feel the warmth radiating from inside. That gesture tore through all my fear. I couldn't leave a child out in a storm like that. I just couldn't. Some rules are meant to be broken, and some risks have to be taken, even if they cost you everything. My bank account was empty, but I wasn't morally bankrupt yet. The crossing the line. I checked Rick's position one more time. He was deep in the walk-in freezer. This was my chance. I walked to the front door and unlocked it. The wind practically ripped the door out of my hand, spraying rain into the entryway. "Hey," I whispered urgently to the boy. "Come in, quickly." He hesitated, looking terrified like it was a trap. "It's okay," I urged him. "Just come sit down." He slipped inside, dripping puddles onto the linoleum. He smelled like wet pavement and old dirt. I quickly ushered him to the far corner booth, right next to Mr. Henderson, hoping the shadows would hide him. "Stay right here. Don't move," I whispered. I ran back to the kitchen pass. The soup of the day was chicken noodle. It was thick, hot, and hearty. I knew because I'd made it myself that morning, adding extra herbs to Sal's cheap recipe to make it bearable. I grabbed a large bowl, ladled it full until it was overflowing with noodles and chicken, and grabbed a sleeve of saltine crackers. The human connection. I placed the bowl in front of him. The steam hit his face and his eyes watered. He didn't grab the spoon immediately, he just looked up at me, stunned. I whispered, "It's okay." He picked up the spoon with shaking hands and took the first bite. He ate with a ferocity that was painful to watch. He was inhaling the food, barely chewing. It was clear he hadn't had a warm meal in days. I risked a glance at the booth next to him. Mr. Henderson hadn't moved his newspaper, but I saw his eyes shift over the top of the pages. He was watching the boy eat. For a fleeting second, our eyes met, mine terrified, his unreadable. He gave the tiniest, almost imperceptible nod and went back to his paper. I turned back to the boy. The color was already returning to his cheeks. For 30 seconds in that crappy diner, everything felt right in the world. The confrontation. The sound of a throat clearing behind me made me jump nearly out of my skin. It was a loud, aggressive, performative cough. Rick stood there. He was staring at the puddle of water under the boy's chair, then at the boy, then at the bowl of soup. His face turned a shade of purple I'd never seen before. "Sarah," he said, his voice terrifyingly quiet. "What is that?" My throat closed up. "It's a customer, Rick. He was cold." "A customer pays," Rick hissed, leaning in close so the other few patrons wouldn't hear. "Did this street rat pay for that soup? Did you ring it up?" "He's hungry, Rick. Look at him. It's pouring outside. I'll pay for it out of my tips." "That's theft," Rick spat. "You gave away company property to a vagrant. Do you know what happens when you steal from me, Sarah?" The boy stopped eating, holding the spoon midair, looking terrified between me and the angry man towering over us. The fallout. "Get out," Rick snarled at the boy. He grabbed the half-finished bowl of soup away so fast soup sloshed onto the table. "Out, now." The boy scrambled out of the booth, tripping over his own feet, and bolted for the door without looking back. He disappeared into the rain instantly. I felt sick. Rick turned his fury on me. "You're fired. Get your stuff and get out. Don't bother cashing out your tips tonight. That'll cover the soup you stole and the mess you made." "Rick, please," I begged, humiliating myself. "I have rent due in 3 days. Please, I won't do it again. It was just a kid." "I don't care if it was the Pope. You broke the rules. You stole. "You're done. If you're not gone in 5 minutes, I'm calling the cops for trespassing." He stormed back to the kitchen. It happened that fast. 2 years of putting up with his abuse, gone in 60 seconds because I fed a hungry child $2 worth of soup. Rock bottom. I went to the back room, grabbed my cheap coat and my purse. I felt numb. I walked out the front door into the storm. The cold rain soaked through my thin jacket in seconds, matching the icy dread in my stomach. I stood under the small awning of the diner, shaking. I had no job, no money for rent. I was going to be evicted. I might be the one looking through the window next week. I started to cry ugly, heaving sobs that I couldn't stop. The unfairness of it crushed me. I had tried to do a good thing, the human thing, and I was being punished for it, while a guy like Rick got to keep his power trip going. I felt completely and utterly abandoned by the universe. I started walking toward the bus stop, letting the rain hide my tears. The interruption. "Miss." A deep, calm voice cut through the sound of the rain. I looked up, wiping mascara-stained rain from my eyes. A sleek black town car had pulled up to the curb right in front of the bus stop. The rear window was rolled down. It was him, the quiet customer from booth 4, Mr. Henderson. "Get in," he said. It wasn't a request, it was a gentle command. I can't," I stammered, confused. "I'm waiting for the bus." "The bus isn't coming for another 40 minutes, he said. "And you're soaking wet. Get in the car, Sarah, please. I just want to talk to you." I hesitated. Stranger danger protocols were screaming in my head. But I was fired, broke, freezing, and he was an old man in an expensive car who knew my name. What did I have left to lose? I opened the door and slid onto the plush leather seat. The mask comes off. The inside of the car was silent and smelled of expensive leather. The driver, a massive man in a suit, didn't turn around. "Here," Mr. Henderson said, handing me a clean, dry towel from a compartment next to him. "Dry your hair." As I dried myself off, still shivering, he spoke. "I saw what happened in there tonight. I've been watching you for months, Sarah." I stopped towel drying my hair. "Creepy," I muttered before I could stop myself. He actually chuckled, a warm, genuine sound. "Perhaps, but necessary. You see, I own things, a lot of things, including the building that diner is in, including the company that franchises it." My jaw dropped. You're Rick's boss's boss." "Something like that. I like to visit my properties anonymously, see how they really run. Rick is a tumor. He'll be gone by tomorrow morning." He turned to face me fully. His eyes were sharp, intelligent, and incredibly kind. "But I didn't follow you here to talk about Rick. I want to talk about the soup." "The proposal." "You knew the rules," he said softly. "You knew that little tyrant would fire you. You were terrified. I saw your hands shaking when you poured that soup, but you did it anyway. You put a starving child's needs above your own security." He paused, letting the words sink in. "That kind of integrity is rare, Sarah. It can't be taught. In my world, everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. You just had soup and a conscience." He pulled a business card from his pocket. It was heavy cardstock, embossed with just a name and a number. "My personal chef is retiring next week. I need someone who knows how to cook. I know you doctor up those terrible soups at Sal's. I can taste the difference when you're on shift. But more importantly, I need someone I can trust into my home. Someone with a good heart. The starting salary is $85,000 a year, full benefits, and you live in the guest cottage on my estate for free." I stared at the card. It felt hot in my hand. $85,000. That was life-changing money. The new chapter. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I called the number. 2 days later, I was standing in a kitchen larger than my entire apartment. It's been 3 months now. I'm not flipping greasy burgers anymore. I'm sourcing organic vegetables from local farms and learning how to make soufflés that don't fall. Mr. Henderson, Arthur, as he insists I call him, is wonderful. He treats me with respect. He appreciates the food. Sometimes, when I'm chopping vegetables in this beautiful, sunlit kitchen, I get flashbacks of Rick screaming at me or the smell of stale fryer grease. It feels like a different lifetime. I went from worrying about making rent to having a savings account. I'm safe. The full circle. But the story doesn't end with me just getting rich. My first week on the job, I asked Arthur a favor. I gave him the description of the little boy from the window. Arthur has resources I couldn't dream of. His private security team found the boy, Leo, living in a shelter with his mom 3 towns over. They had lost everything in a fire 6 months prior. Arthur didn't just give them money. He set Leo's mom up with a job in the logistical department of one of his companies and got them into a subsidized, safe apartment. Last weekend, Arthur hosted a small dinner party. He invited Leo and his mom. I cooked lasagna, Leo's request. Watching that little boy eat a second helping, sitting at a beautiful mahogany table, laughing with clean clothes and no fear in his eyes, that was better than any paycheck. I got fired for giving away $2 worth of soup. It was the scariest moment of my life. I thought it was the end. But sometimes, when everything falls apart, it's actually falling into place. If I hadn't broken the rules that night, if I hadn't risked everything to be kind to a stranger, I'd still be getting yelled at by Rick for $9 an hour. The world will tell you to look out for number 1. It will tell you that kindness is a weakness that will get you exploited. Don't believe it. Character is doing the right thing when nobody is looking, and sometimes, even when the wrong person is looking. You never know when one small act of compassion is going to be the key that unlocks the rest of your life.